Dear guests, in the closing panel discussion of the first day of the International Investment Summit, we will be speaking of what the public and private sectors can do in the upcoming period to increase Turkey's share of global FDI. Our distinguished guests in this panel are President of the Turkey Investment Office, Mr. Ahmet Burak DAÐLIOİDLU, and the CEO of SOCAR Turkey and YASED's Vice President, Mr. Zaur GAHRAMANOV. Welcome, Mr. DAÐLIOİDLU and Mr. GAHRAMANOV.
Teşekkürler.
In the first panel, we welcome the representatives of international finance, trade and development organizations, and there, James Zahn, the Director of Investment and Enterprise at UNCTAD, provided the following information. He stated that FDI dropped by 50% in the first half of 2020. He said that this drop was even more serious in developed countries and uncertainty remained. And in their World Investment Report, they state that they expect a 30 to 40% drop overall for the entire year. In the same panel discussion, the World Bank representative indicated that the trade and production have not yet resumed their pre-COVID levels and that they do not expect much investment in additional production capacity for some time to come. The IFC's representative in the same panel indicated that there wasn't much of a problem on the finance side, but the market did not really offer a large range of bankable projects. So, Mr. DAÐLIOİDLU, as regards this global outlook, I would like to ask you my first question about the correct positioning of Turkey. While we had a difficult time because of the pandemic, in your opinion, how did the pandemic affect international investors' interest in Turkey? Normalization measures help overcome the problems. First of all, I would like to extend my gratitude to YASED for organizing such an interesting event, and I would also like to celebrate your 40th anniversary. And I would also like to salute Mr. GAHRAMANOV, who is the CEO of SOCAR Turkey and YASED's Vice President, of course. Well, undoubtedly, the pandemic had a huge effect across the world, and it also had a negative effect on FDI. As you've indicated, UNCTAD estimates that because of the pandemic, global FDI will drop by 40% in 2020. This suggests that after a long while, the annual FDI flow will drop under the $1 trillion mark, and it's a quite critical development. And in the first 60-month period, according to UNCTAD, in this first half of the year, there will be a 49% drop in investment flows. Obviously, the pandemic has had a very negative impact in the period from March to June, and economic activity has almost stalled. And especially, the pandemic had a negative effect on the global supply chain. And at the current point, we consider that the existing uncertainty may continue until the organization of widespread vaccination. Obviously, we also see that there's ongoing progress in investment projects, which are already at an advanced stage, and some companies want to prepare for the post-COVID period. And we also see that there are quite important investments still going on in Turkey. In this period, Turkey's investment performance is much more positive than its rivals. From fintech to the game industry, from manufacturing to service industry, we see that international investors are continuing to acquire new companies, to carry out mergers and acquisitions in Turkey, and there are also new greenfield and brownfield investments in the pipeline. So I would like to give a number of examples about what happened in 2020. For example, in June, Peak Games acquired a Turkish gaming company for $1.8 billion. 2 months later, Peak Games invested in yet another game publisher in Turkey. As for industry, investment also continued. The Europe-based company Imeris acquired a 60% stake in a Turkish refractory supplier. Likewise, in industry, a Swiss-based company acquired a stake in Turkey's Üçdilek. And on the logistics side, obviously, which was a very important industry during the pandemic, we saw that Austria Post increased their stake in Turkey's Aras Kargo up to 80%. Qatar-based Q Terminals purchased the port of Antalya. And also in other fields, in corporate-level real estate acquisitions, we saw that Qatar Investment Authority acquired a considerable stake in a Turkish shopping mall. And even beyond all these individual sectors, we saw that on the financial services side, Qatar Investment Authority acquired a 10% stake in the Istanbul Stock Exchange. As such, we saw a quite vibrant activity as regards mergers and acquisitions despite the pandemic. Obviously, we also saw important upswing in greenfield and brownfield investments. For example, I could talk about the automotive industry. Hyundai Motor initiated the production of its E20 model in Turkish production facilities, and they indicate that they will meet 50% of worldwide supply from their Turkish factory. Likewise, the Swiss-based company Nestle broke ground on its fifth Turkish factory, and this one will be under the scope of their Nestle Health Sciences operations, and this will be the very first medical nutrition factory in Turkey. Another crucial industry during the pandemic was obviously life sciences, and Gilead Sciences have joined forces with their Turkish partner to enhance their investments on the manufacturing side as regards HIV and hepatitis medication. So I think there's a quite strong investment climate in Turkey. Yesterday, we also received great news about the automotive industry. Ford Otosan has announced that the first fully electrical version of Ford Transit will be produced in their Kocaeli factory, and this production will include the assembly of the battery. So the figures suggest that in the first 9 months of 2020, FDI coming into Turkey dropped by 20% year over year. And compared with the 40% drop across the globe, obviously this is a much better performance. In the first 9 months of 2019, Turkey received $6.5 billion of FDI, whereas in the first 9 months of 2020, this dropped to $5.1 billion. Obviously, this positive performance can be explained by Turkey's decisive leadership capacities under the leadership of our President Erdogan. In brief, despite the pandemic, foreign investors continue to trust in our country and continue to invest in our country. And according to quite recent figures concerning economic activity, Turkey has managed to post 6.7% growth in the third quarter, and it has thus become the only OECD company to post positive growth. As such, investments have contributed 5.2 percentage points to this performance, and investment has reached its highest level since the second quarter of 2011. Another important indicator about domestic investment, there is a strong recovery on the production side. We see that capacity utilization rates in the manufacturing is increasing, and real economy business confidence is quite positive since April. So in the light of all these data, we can say that the Turkish investment climate can live up to the challenges. So seriously, on behalf of my organization, I would like to extend my gratitude to investors and all the business people, and especially YASED members who trust in our country. At the Turkish Investment Office, we are trying to, stand with them as much as we can. Mr. DAÐLIODLU, thank you very much. All the investments that you mentioned are high value-added investments, only in terms of their total value, but also their quality is very remarkable. Mr. GAHRAMANOV, if you wish, maybe we can go a bit towards the past. You are the largest foreign investor in Turkey. What was the most important criterion for you in deciding to invest in Turkey? And to what extent did you realize your growth and investment plans in Turkey? I would also like to salute Mr. President DAÐLIODLU, and I would like to share my heartfelt respect to YASED. As you know, Turkey is our sister country, and in 2008 we started to invest in Turkey. Back then, obviously, SOCAR was still the largest company in Azerbaijan, and it had taken a strategic decision. SOCAR had decided to become an international company, and by especially laying pipelines to deliver our petroleum and our natural gas across the world, and we had started to invest in this area. In 2006 and 2007, we first invested in Georgia, and in 2008, we acquired Turkey's Petkim, which was then being privatized. And this was our very first step into the Turkish market, our very first investment. Obviously, Turkey is a huge market. Geographically, Turkey provides a corridor between Azerbaijan and Europe. In a sense, Turkey is Azerbaijan's window on the world. And of course, I would also like to indicate that the Turkish state has always supported us. The state always stands with foreign investors, and I think this is a well-known fact. But at SOCAR, we initiated the very first strategic incentive from the state, and we established the very first special industry zone, and all of this have been huge sources of pride for us. At SOCAR, after acquiring Petkim, we engaged in multiple investment projects. For example, we've initiated the largest container terminal in the Aegean region. We set up the very first private refineries in 40 provinces. We also inaugurated the gas pipeline TANAP, which connects Turkey from one border to the other. We've established various wind power plants. In Kayseri, we've started to produce gas. So we've really driven forward a multiple investment project agenda, and we estimate that we have invested $16.5 billion from 2008 until today across the country. And in the future, in our future projects, we plan to bring this up to $19.5 billion of investment in total. Obviously, our President DAÐLIOİDLU, all the ministers of the cabinet, and of course, President Mr. Tayyip Erdoğan have supported us immensely in all of these efforts. We fully trust in Turkey, Turkey's infrastructure, Turkey's population, Turkey's markets offer a great advantage in our industry. As you know, Turkey has a considerable current deficit of $40 billion, and in order to help eliminate this deficit, we are trying to do our utmost. Thank you, Mr. GAHRAMANOV. Mr. DAÐLIOİDLU, when we take into consideration the recent developments, I think we all expect a contraction in the future, and there will probably be more intense competition among different international investment agencies. So, what will be your policy in the future? Will you introduce new approaches and perspectives? Of course, at the Turkey Investment Office, we have redesignated our priorities and we are trying to get ready for the post-COVID era. Well, since the companies are taking investment decisions, we are trying to, figure in such companies' agendas. Which countries are we focusing on, especially Europe, USA, Gulf countries, as well as Azerbaijan, China, South Korea, Japan, Singapore stand out in our list. And so we are trying to, promote Turkey among these industries and in these countries. So attracting new investors to Turkey is a huge priority for us. Keeping into consideration the current conditions in Turkey, obviously all countries are trying to, keep the existing investors within. So we are trying to make sure that our foreign investors can continue their investments through our facilitating and supportive services. We are trying to render our services more rapid and more efficient. So, starting from the existing foreign countries investing in Turkey, we are trying to reach out to different foreign investors. For example, Mr. GAHRAMANOV just touched upon this point. SOCAR is one of the largest energy investors in Turkey, and at the Turkey Investment Office, we have very close contacts with them, with their Turkey offices and their other instances, and we are trying to ensure that their investment programs continue smoothly. And in this context, we are trying to, maintain a similar relationship with all other foreign investors. Obviously, we are trying to, join forces with other ministries and with our private sector stakeholders to draft a new FDI strategy document. Obviously, YASED also contributes to this effort. We are trying to carry forward the vision, our FDI vision in our development plan, and we are trying to, lay out a roadmap for all our public agencies as regards FDI. We are also trying to reformulate our communication strategy to this end. We are trying to adapt our content and our mediums in order to be able to access our target countries and target industries. In our communication strategy, we've especially focused on setting up localized content and platforms in all target countries. This concerns Japan, Germany, Arab countries, Korea. So we are trying to set up micro websites as well as local social media accounts in order to reach more and more stakeholders, in order to be able to attract the attention of the investors in these countries. We're especially focusing on the platforms that they prefer. Obviously, all the communication efforts have undergone an important change the COVID. In the pre-COVID era, we used to organize, promotional visits to these countries. But obviously, owing to our healthcare concerns about our own staff and about our host staff, we are prioritizing online channels. We are organizing online seminars in order to reach wider groups of investors. Obviously, this has been an advantage in a sense. We have our country offices and we have industry-specific experts who are supporting us in these efforts. Obviously, the pandemic has changed the structure of international summits. For us, obviously, global events and global conferences were always crucial platforms to access international investors. To give an example, for example, in the first week of December, we will participate in Web Summit, which is one of the world's largest tech conferences. As a national delegation, we organize various webinars, bringing together Turkey's fund investors and tech startups who explained our positive investment climate to the entire world. Another positive example was the reorganization of the Formula One races back in Turkey after an interval of 9 years. We also issued promotional videos and films. We also placed ads across the racetrack, and so we tried to give the message, invest in Turkey, to all Formula One aficionados across the world. While conducting our efforts, one of our priorities has always been to make sure that Turkey climbs higher in global supply chains. The pandemic has accelerated an already existing transformation, revealing the fragilities in the global supply chain, and we think that Turkey must play a more central role in the new global supply chains in all industries. We are conducting similar efforts with YASED as well. Another focus area is the following. Of course, we are trying to support companies not only in their production phase, but also in their pre- and post-production processes and functions. For example, if an investor has a factory in Turkey, we are encouraging them to establish an R&D center, a design center, a procurement office, a logistics center, let's say, in Turkey, in order to position Turkey as a central production hub and a central logistics hub. Another important area of focus is financial investors. In this sense, we are trying to enhance our communication with the equity and venture capital funds. We are trying to draw more and more investment from these funds to Turkey, and we shall continue such efforts. Here, we are not only communicating fund managers, but we're also communicating with the so-called limited partners in venture capitals, such as international finance organizations, pension funds, wealth funds, family offices, and high-worth individuals, whom we are encouraging to invest in funds investing in Turkey. In order to ensure sustainable economic development in the coming era, we think that it's important to form financial structure which supports the real economy. This is one of the major objectives of Turkey. And in this sense, Turkish Wealth Fund, presided over by Mr. President Erdogan, is trying to forward the project of the Istanbul Finance Center. We are trying to carry Turkey to the next level in terms of attracting foreign investment. Mr. DAÐLIODLU, thank you very much. First of all, we earnestly thank you for your contributions to creating a predictable and stable investment environment. The FDI strategy document that you mentioned is very important for us. We think that it is complementary to the industry and trade strategy of Turkey. And we think that the timing of this strategy document is also very fruitful when we think about the initiation of the post-COVID era, and your focus on target industries and target countries is also appreciated by YASED members. And actually, we've already collaborated with you as regards the global supply chains. Maybe now we can turn a bit more towards the YASED agenda. Well, Mr. Gahramanov is our Vice President, of course, and our Board of Directors is also focusing in these issues. We are thinking of how we can enable Turkey to get a larger share of the global supply chains. Another important issue is obviously ensuring the digital transformation of Turkey. How can foreign investors contribute to this transformation? How can we train our procurers? How can we bring the best practices to Turkey? And we're trying to, make all the contribution that we make. So, Mr. Gahramanov, as the Vice President of YASED, what are your evaluations on this issue? How can we collaborate with the government, and which topics should we prioritize, in your opinion? Many thanks, Mr. VALANDOVA. And now I would like to speak as an executive of YASED now.
Suala bir YASED şapkayla izninizle cevap vereyim. Biz YASED olarak
If you allow me, at YASED, we are attaching immense opportunity to the issues underlined by Mr. DAÐLIODLU. We have established working groups aside from our existing board of directors to focus on this issue. I think digitalization has recently become a license to operate. It is a very crucial issue, especially for production companies. It is very, very important. At Petkim, in our portfolio, in January, we received the Digital Lighthouse Award of the World Economic Forum, and there are only a few companies in Turkey who hold this. This award, of course, highlights companies' efforts towards digital transformation, which is given only to production companies. So, especially after receiving this award, I've decided to become an advocate of this era. Digitalization has had a very positive effect on our EBITDA. It has allowed us to make more financial gains, but of course, I think it is very important to ensure that in the private sector and in the public sector, we should change our mindset. So, as companies, as foreign companies active in Turkey, we are only in the beginning of a very long journey of digitalization. So, I think we have a huge room of improvement in this sense, and I hope that we will make further progress altogether. At YASED's board of directors, we've discussed this issue at length. As regards the supply chain and logistics, we've set up a separate working group. As Mr. VALANDOVA, you are also in the know about this. We believe that in this new post-COVID world, as Mr. DAÐLIODLU has indicated, Turkey must assume a new position by capitalizing on its geographical location and on its dynamism, of course. So in this sense, YASED will prioritize especially enhancing Turkey's competitive edge. And we have tried to organize various campaigns in European and Gulf countries. We think that especially 5 topics are of huge importance. We are focusing on trade and customs, supply chain and logistics, taxation, employment, and finally, legal affairs. We consider that these issues are very important topics, and I believe that measures which can be taken in this field can help Turkey assume a stronger position in the post-COVID world. So, foreign and domestic companies operating in Turkey will enjoy more and more competitive edge, in our opinion. Thank you, Mr. GAHRAMANOV.
Burak Bey,
Mr.
uzun
DAÐLIOÐLU,
süredir ülkemizin uluslararası doğrudan yatırım çekmedeki
obviously
rakipleriyle
you are keeping an eye
mukayese
on
edildiğini takip
Turkey's
ediyoruz
competitive
haberlerde,
position vis-à-vis its
paylaşımlarla.
rivals. In the
Önümüzdeki dönemde
future,
ülkemizin yatırım
which
rekabeti
areas of
konusunda en önemli
improvement
gelişme
are
alanlarını
crucial
siz
in your
neler
opinion as regards
değerlendiriyorsunuz?
attracting more investment to our country?
Şimdi dünya önümüzdeki
I
yüzyılı
think that
etkileyecek
Turkey,
değişimlerin
entire world
yaşanması
has been
süreçten
going
geçiyor.
through a
Bu
period which will
süreç
affect
bize şunu gösteriyor.
the
Bu
coming
salgın gibi
century.
beklenmedik
It has
krizleri
shown us,
iyi
this period has
yöneten ve
shown us that countries
önceliklerin
which can
değişen
adapt their
koşullara göre
conditions
adapte
to such
edebilen
challenging
ülkeler
conditions
yarının küresel
will
oyuncusu
become
olacak.
the
Ve
actors of the
takdir
future. And
ediyoruz
under the
Sayın
leadership of our
Cumhurbaşkanımızın liderliğinde
president,
biz bir
we are
ülke olarak
trying to,
olabilecek
display
en
the
başarılı
best performance
şekillerde o
possible in
şekilleri
managing the
giymek
situation.
inanıyoruz.
I would like
Ve
to
yine kendilerinden bir alıntıyla
cite the president,
yatırım
who
yapıldığında
says that,
en yüksek
Turkey,
güvenli kazancın
when it comes
sağlanacağını
to
belirtmek
foreign
dışında
investment,
Türkiye'nin geldiğini
provides a
tüm
very high
dünyaya
level
gösterdi
of
ve
secure
göstermeye devam
returns
edeceğiz.
to investors.
Sıklıkla ifade edildiği
As
gibi
it has been frequently
Türkiye'ye
indicated,
yatırım
investing in
yapmak,
Turkey
geleceğe
means
yatırım yapmak.
investing in
Bu
the future.
bağlamda
So,
ülke olarak önceliklerimizi de
at
yeniden
the Turkey
tanımlayıp
Investment
geleceğe
Office, we are
hazırlık
trying
yapıyoruz.
to reformulate our
Ülkemizin yatırım
investment
konusundaki
priorities.
önceliklerine baktığımızda her zaman olduğu
Obviously,
gibi
we are keen on
teknoloji
maintaining our
odaklı,
technology focus,
cari dengeye
achieving
pozitif
the
katkı
current account
sağlanması
balance,
ve
and creating
istihdam
further employment.
üretilmesi
And these
en
issues
dikkat çeken iki
continue
başlık.
to
Bu
be
başlıklar
very
önemini
important.
korumaya
But
devam
taken into
ederken
consideration
değişen
changing
koşullara
conditions,
göre
we'll be
ülke
focusing
olarak
on
yeni
different projects and
yatırım
different
projelerine
investment areas.
odaklanacağız.
We think that certain
Sağlıksal
industries will
dönemde
stand out
dikkat
in the
çekecek
coming
sektörler
period,
arasında
especially
şu gördük.
biotechnology,
Özellikle
then life
biyoteknoloji,
sciences,
yaşam
which
bilimleri yani
cover, the
geçmişte
pharmaceuticals, the
ilaç,
hospital
medikal
services, which
cihazlar,
in the past we
hastane
used to consider
ünitesi
as
ve ayırdığımız
individual
zamanın bütüncül olarak ele
sectors,
alınması
but
gereken
also
sektörler.
automation,
Otomasyon,
e-mobility,
e-mobilite, dijital
renewable energy
teknolojiler,
storage,
enerji
chemistry and
depolama
petrochemistry,
ve yenilenebilir enerjiler,
aviation and defense,
kimya
food
petrokimya,
processing and agriculture,
savunma
and
ve
finally
havacılık,
logistics
tarım ve
industries
gıda
will
işleme
come to
ve
the
son
fore.
olarak
As
lojistik
I've already
sektörünü görüyor
indicated,
olacağız.
multinational companies are
Alanımızla
trying to
ilgili çok
strengthen
uluslu
their
şirketler
supply chains
tedarik ağlarını
by
güçlendirmek
focusing
için
on regional
coğrafi ve
and local
sektörel
activities.
faaliyetlerini yeniden gözden
For
geçirmeye
investors,
başladılar.
proximity to
Yatırımcılar için
the target
kaynaklara
markets
ve
and
hedef
target
pazarlara
resources has
yakın
become
olmak
more and more
artık
important.
daha da önem kazandı.
And this issue
Türkiye'ye
will be very
gelecek
important
yatırımlarda
for
bu
attracting more
yatırımlarda bu başlık önemli
investment
bir
to Turkey.
gündem
For example,
oluşturuyor.
recently the credit
Örneğin
rating
yakın zamanda
agency
küresel
Fitch
ekranlarda
has
konuşan
indicated
Fitch
that
tarafından
Turkey is
yapılan bir
very
analizde
attractive country with its
Türkiye'nin yer
strategic
değişmiş
location.
stratejik lokasyonu ile cazip bir ülke olduğunun altı
Actually,
çizildi.
already
Bu
we are
gelişmelerin
seeing the
yansımaları açıkçası
reflections of these
optimize başvuran
developments
yeni yatırım
in the
projelerinde
increasing
görmeye
number of
başladık.
projects which apply
Bir diğer
to our
alanda
office.
çok önem verdiğimiz
Other important
Birleşmiş Milletler'in öncülük ettiği
focus areas will be
sürdürülebilir kalkınma
the United
paketi
Nations
ve
Sustainable
Avrupa
Development
Birliği'nin
Goals
önceli bir
and the
gündemi
European
olan
Union's Green
yeşil
Deal.
mutabakat,
I think these
önümüzdeki
two
dönem
initiatives will
yatırımlara
also
yön
be
verecek olan
shaping
diğer ana
investments in the
başlık.
future. So the
Az
Green
önce
Deal
ifade ettiğimiz
and the Sustainable
sektörlerde
Development Goals
yeşil
will
mutabakat
have
ve
a very important effect on, for
sürdürülebilirliği
example,
hedeflediğimiz
renewable energies, green energy, energy development, etc.
yenilenebilir
So
yeşil
in
enerji
Turkey,
üretilmesiyle alakalı.
we are taking
Ülke
into
olarak
consideration this
yatırım ortamımızın
framework to improve
geliştirilmesinde
our
bu
investment
çerçeveyi
climate.
dikkate alarak da
In the
çalışıyoruz.
medium
Bu
and
bizim
long
UDE
term,
stratejimizde de yerini buluyor. Orta ve uzun
we
vadede
are
Avrupa
offering
pazarını
various
hedefleyen
advantages
tüm
for investors
yatırımcılar
which
için
will
bu
focus
plan
on the European
vazgeçilmez bir yer.
markets. And
Son
finally, I
olarak
would like
değinmek
to
istediğim ana gelişim alanı
briefly
da
speak about tech
teknoloji
startups
girişimleri
and their
ve bu
finance.
girişimlerin finansmanı konusu.
We
Türkiye'deki
all know that
girişimcilik
the
tüm dünya ile
startup
rekabet
climate in
edebilir seviyede
Turkey
olmalı.
can compete with any
Ülkemizdeki
other country in the
teknoloji
world. Our
girişimlerinin
startups
yetkin
have
insan kaynağına
highly
sahip
qualified
olmalı.
personnel.
Bu
Their
girişimlerin ortaya
products
koyduğu
and
ürün ve
services are
hizmetlerin
technologically sophisticated and they can be exported
teknolojik
across the world. And I think
etkinliğini
we have
ve dünyaya
clearly proven
iade
this in the
yapabildiğini
last
son 10
decade.
yılda ispat ettik. Bununla ilgili hiçbir şüphe yok artık. Bu
In this
bağlamda
respect, we think that there are
Türkiye'de
more opportunities
girişimcilik
for
finansman
financing
noktasında
startups.
fırsatın devam ettiğini, venture capital
And
diye ifade
venture
ettiğimiz girişim
capital
sermayesi
companies are
şirketlerin
very keen on
Türkiye'ye
investing in
yönelik yatırım
Turkish
iştahlarının
startups.
yüksek olduğunu
And
çok açıkça
the
görüyoruz.
public sector will be
Kamunun da
providing
geliştirdiği
more
politikalarla
support
bu
to such
konulara
funds
kaynak
through
sağlayarak
various
destek
incentives.
olması uluslararası yatırımcılara daha çok
Not
cesaret
only
verir.
international investors,
Yalnızca
but also
uluslararası
high-worth individuals and
yatırımcıların
families,
Türkiye'deki
national
aile,
companies
varlıklı
in
bireylerin
Turkey
asıl önemlisi kurumsal şirketlerin girişim
should be
sermayesinin
focusing more
onlarla
on
yatırımcı
venture
olması
capitalists,
için
and we are trying to
sektör
support them
temsilcileriyle
in every
son 5
way we
yıldır
can.
beraber çalıştık.
USA, EU countries, Gulf
ABD, Avrupa
countries,
ülkeleri,
Singapore, South Korea,
Körfez
Japan
ülkeleri,
are
Singapur,
only
Güney
some of the
Kore,
countries where
Japonya
we've been
gibi Asya
organizing various
ülkelerinde
promotional tours
tanıtım
where we
turları organize
explain,
ederek yatırımcılara
startup financing opportunities in Turkey. So these are the main issues I would like to touch upon. Mr. DAÐLIODLU, thank you very much. You've been offering very detailed information on your activities.
Geniş kapsamdaki faaliyetlerine
Mr. GAHRAMANOV, lastly,
sözde yatırım ofisimizin
we talked about the past, we talked about our current day and age, and I would also like to hear your projections about the future. In Turkey and across the world, what, in your opinion, will be the future trajectory of FDI?
Seyri hakkındaki öngörüleriniz nelerdir?
Elbette ilk önce
Of course, first of all, I would like to say that from a Turkey perspective,
Türkiye
we have very clear expectations. We will be continuing to invest in Turkey. As Mr. DAÐLIODLU has indicated, I think the real issue here is ensuring the creation of a competitive ecosystem. I think that Turkey is one of the leaders in this area. At SOCAR, we have operations in 8 countries, and we have also 35 commercial offices in as many countries. And I can very clearly say that I have personally observed that there are only very few countries who support foreign investors to such an extent. That has been confirmed by my personal experience. So we'll of course continue to invest in our industry. Obviously, in the post-COVID era, certain trends will be changing, but in my opinion, by implementing the right policies and the right management style, I think we will ensure that Turkey becomes more and more competitive. Mr. GAHRAMANOV, thank you very much. Mr. DAÐLIODLU and Mr. GAHRAMANOV, thank you very much for participating in our panel. Mr. DAÐLIODLU, we would especially like to thank you for your consulting support. We have carried out various activities, various studies with our Turkey Investment Office, and especially since the onset of the pandemic, we have enhanced our efforts. We have ongoing projects and ongoing collaborations in different topics, and we would like to thank you very much for providing us such opportunities. Mr. GAHRAMANOV, obviously, the investment of countries as large as SOCAR is a huge promotion in itself for Turkey, so I would like to extend my gratitude to SOCAR and to you for your support to the moderation of the investment climate in Turkey. I'd also like to thank you for sponsoring this event. Dear guests, starting from the second day of our activity, we will be touching upon especially the global supply chains across the world. Thank you very much and see you tomorrow.
Yarın görüşmek üzere, sağlıkla kalın.